Hi. We'd like to begin by introducing ourselves, Eleanor and I, for the course that we have ahead together. And we just thought we'd begin by sharing a little bit about ourselves. So we thought we might ask some questions of each other and introduce ourselves and talk a little bit about our intentions and plans, our hopes more than anything, for this time ahead together. Eleanor, I'm going to put you on the spot. Tell me, so we know each other quite well. We worked together for 5 years?
5.
Wow. And this is our third DPL together.
Indeed.
Although very different this year.
Indeed.
Could you begin, before we get to the things that I already know about you, could you begin by telling me something that I don't already know about you?
Ooh, that's a difficult one. I told you my secret. I was a synchronized swimmer the other day.
You did.
So I think, let me think, you know too much about me. Well, I tell you one thing. When I came to the UK, I'm Italian, as you probably can hear from my accent. And by the way, this is something I really worry about, my accent, and I'm still trying to be comfortable with it. And it's a work I'm doing. But let that aside. We can talk about that later on during the module, I'm sure, and the course. When I first arrived to the UK, I was completely shocked by the fact that people were putting milk in tea. It's something that to me was such a weird thing, and I didn't feel comfortable to say to anybody that I thought was so odd, because in Italy we put lemon, and we have the stereotype that English people make the best tea ever. So I didn't. So to me it was a complete revelation. But then now I love putting so much milk in tea. I'm a total convert. So that is probably something you didn't know, and you also don't know that being in England has helped me to get over my obsession with opening umbrella as soon as the first drop of rain was coming down. So now I put milk in tea and I don't have any umbrella anymore.
That's such a yeah, a beautiful story. Two stories to start with, as we're kind of bringing people together from all over the world. Would you like
Can
to
I ask you the same question?
Oh, I was
something I don't know about you.
I was hoping to move on before you got a chance to do that. I have to remember that I'm setting myself up when I ask these things. Something that you don't know about me. So I don't think that I've told you this, but you'll have to tell me if I have. I feel like maybe I have. I don't know. This is a problem of having known you so long. Twice in my life, I've been mistaken for a shop dummy.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Okay. No. And both times I made people scream and nearly fall over. And the worst thing is that once it was in a DIY shop where they didn't have dummies.
Oh no.
And I was just standing there, and I think I must have been like thinking deeply about something not to do with DIY, or maybe it was just about the difference between different colours of white. I don't know. But this like really burly kind of rugby player type looking person was passing, and I moved slightly, and he just went, "Oh, bloody hell," and nearly fell over. And he's like, "Oh my goodness, I thought you was a dummy. I mean, sorry, that's so rude. I mean, I don't think you're a dummy. I mean, I thought you weren't real." And I just kind of stood there and just like blinked at him. I had no idea how to respond. And the other time was outside. So I was standing outside on the pavement, and I was waiting for somebody, and I must have been daydreaming. Tells you a lot about me. And somebody saw me they were just walking past me and I moved slightly and they screamed and stumbled away from me like they'd just seen a ghost. And again, I was just like, and then they kind of ran away.
Oh no! Oh, no. I've never mistaken you for that, but you know.
I suppose that inadvertently links quite well to our first theme, actually, of being human and what makes us human. Because the fact that I was human certainly startled them in that moment.
Definitely.
How do we tell the difference between an inanimate and an animate object? So you live in Birmingham, don't you? We've
Yes.
started this task about sharing where in the world we're coming from, and
Yes.
you're in Birmingham.
Yes, I'm in Birmingham. For people who don't know, it is the second UK city, or at least is battling with Manchester for being the second UK city.
There's no battle.
There's no battle. No.
Birmingham has won.
It's Birmingham. And as I said on my map, I moved here for love. I was supposed to stay here for 1 month during my PhD. I was doing a PhD in chemistry. I'm originally from the north of Italy, close to Milan. And I was doing my PhD with the University of Milan. My professor was having a collaboration at the time with a professor in Birmingham and a professor in Barcelona. He asked me where I wanted to go. Don't ask me why. I said Birmingham. It was fate.
I shouldn't have
probably.
made that face.
I know. I was like, yeah, I go to Birmingham. Why would you go to Barcelona? And no, I'm joking. I wanted to improve my English, and I thought that was a good enough reason for accepting to go to the University of Birmingham. I was supposed to stay there 1 month, and then on the first day, I met my future husband on the platform of the train station. This is something, you know. And yeah, romantic. That was it. I went back to Italy, finished up my PhD. My husband at the time had already a little business going on. He didn't speak Italian, so it was easier for me to just start to move in and see if it was going to work out. And it worked out too well, probably, because we got married within 2 years and started to have children. I've got 2 boys, Joshua and Sebastian, and apologize if during the videos you might see someone running in and out.
Apology rejected. I can't let you apologize for that.
There we go. Thank you.
I think that's a beautiful thing.
And this is extended to all of you who are listening. Allow your life to come in. You know, we are all on the same boat, and I think actually it helps us to create a 3D perspective to this 2D kind of learning environment in which we are, which has a lot of benefits, but definitely, you know, being 3D can be one of the negatives, and I think the 3D can come in with your cats roaming around, my children screaming,
My cats.
your drinking coffees and having a pizza or whatever.
Milk with tea.
There we go. A bottle of Captain America. So yeah. Yeah, that's it about me. Just giving you a little bit of a academic background that might be interesting to some of you. I am a chemical biologist as a background. I did my bachelor, master and PhD in chemistry, and then I did my first 2 postdocs in chemistry, and then life came, you know, across in the form of a child, my first one, when I was relatively young, or too young, as I was told by the head of the Department of Chemistry at the time. Yes. So I had a fellowship on research, but it was very difficult coming back after 3 months of maternity leave and juggling everything. So I carried on, but then I felt really kind of heavily impacted by having to do very long hours for my research and having a little child that obviously needed all my full attention. So by then, thank goodness that the department had changed, and this person suggested me to start to explore teaching more. She offered me a lot of possibility for teaching. was a woman, probably. I don't know. There may be a difference. I don't know. I've not said that, but maybe. So I started to do some teaching, and I absolutely loved it, and discovered that that was the side of the academic profession I wanted to really pursue and explore. So it was really a silver lining in a very complex situation. And a position in IATL, which is the department where Naomi and I work at the moment, came up. They were looking
We should
for
just say, sorry to interrupt you, IATL I think just sounds like a noise to anybody who's not in... So it's the Institute for Advanced Teaching and Learning, in IATL. We call it IATL. Sorry to interrupt, Karen.
No, very good point. Talking acronyms, something that also we will touch upon later on. And so I joined the department. They were looking for someone with a background in science that could help them to further develop their interdisciplinary offering. And I applied, was not expecting to get it. I did, and I met Naomi, and I leave it to you then.
So I live about half an hour probably away from Elena in a city called Coventry. And although if you're in North America, you might regard that as being a distance that suggests we're in the same city. In the UK, we have different accents. People with local accents might even struggle to understand each other because they can be so strong and so different. And so there's very, very distinct kind of identities in the different places, even though they're so close together. I moved to this area when I was 11. And before that, I'd lived in the English Lake District, which, well, near in the city of Carlisle, which is on the border with Scotland, although it's in England. And it's an extraordinarily beautiful place. It's where Wordsworth was based when he wrote a lot of his poetry, including the poem Daffodils, which I had to learn off by heart as a child in school. So yeah, you can test me on that at any point if you like, and I can drop it like that. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat this morning, but yeah, and then moving to the Midlands was a little bit of a shock after all the hills of the north, and it took me quite a long time to learn to see the beauty in this place. It's a much older landscape, much more worn down by glaciers. The hills are much more gentle, far more oak trees and fields and things like that. But I've come to love this area, and I especially love Coventry. It's a really funny little city, and I say that with great affection. It was nearly decimated during the war. 70% of the houses here were damaged or destroyed, including mine that I'm sitting outside. And just 2 doors down, two teenage girls were killed in 1940 in the bombing here. And so we're approaching the 80th anniversary of that, and that's is that 80 years? 1940. Yes. Yes. Glad to work with you. And so it's a city which thinks of itself as renewing itself, and it's had to respond to disaster many, many times over the years by recreating itself. The phoenix is a symbol of the city for that reason. And
I've got a phoenix tattoo on my foot.
You do?
Yeah.
As a tattoo?
Yeah, as a tattoo. Oh. It's the rising phoenix. Yeah, there we go.
I did not know that. That's wonderful.
No way.
Well, I knew you had a tattoo, I think, but I didn't realize that's what it was. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a place that I love. It's very brutalist modern architecture now, and again, that's something that I like about the city. There's a lot of people here who don't, and who are upset that we lost the beautiful medieval architecture from interventions before and after the war and the bombing. But yeah, it's a funny little city, and I think probably if I were a city, I would be Coventry. I feel like there's something about this strange place that feels like I have an affinity for it. And I joined IATL, the Institute for Advanced Teaching and Learning, in 2014, so not that long before you, Eleanor. And my background is sociology, and then I went from sociology to do my postgraduate in English, and in writing in particular. So that was kind of a response to a love of sociology, but a frustration with its constraints. And doing my postgraduate in writing really opened up the opportunity for what I didn't know to then, at that point, to call interdisciplinarity, and for engaging with other forms of knowledge, and to being able to ground myself in the questions that I wanted to ask, and then respond with the form that seemed most appropriate to the thing I was exploring, rather than following the norms and diktats of a specific discipline. And that's also how my brain works. It works in connecting things in all sorts of peculiar ways. And so teaching now, as I do, in an interdisciplinary way, has given much more space to that. And I really, really enjoy that way of thinking and being. Like Eleanor, I discovered a deep love of teaching and learning. I think they're the same thing at the same time for me. I learn more from my students every time I teach them. I'm constantly in awe and humbled by them. And I think it feels like a way of being in the world. It's not just a way for me being in the classroom, but that sense of deep learning, and thinking about how I can create spaces in which deep learning is possible to share with other people. That feels like what my life's work's about, I guess. That feels like it's my job, my work as a human being, I guess I could say. Last year at DPL, Eleanor, I remember Shonda, who has become a friend since, and is teaching on DPL this year. I remember when we were teaching together, Shonda, do you remember this? Shonda interrupted us talking to each other. You were there remotely at that point, and I was there in person. And Shonda said, "Yeah, but do you like each other?" Do you remember that?
No, I do.
So I thought it might be nice. I thought it might be nice to say a little bit as well about. I want to tell the story of, like, I knew I liked you way before this, but I want to tell the story of, we were talking to a group of educators, and we had been asked to talk about assessment. We've done some developing of work in the area of assessment, something called student devised assessments, which I introduced to IATL a long time ago, and which you've like really developed and taken in new directions. And so we've done this thing together. And so we were asked to go and speak to a group of educators, and we had a conversation about it beforehand, about how brave we were going to be, and we decided we were going to entitle it Assessment as an Act of Love. Have I got that right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And it was mainly you leading, and I was there for kind of moral support, really.
Very much needed.
And you shared these wonderful ideas and stories about the nature of assessment, and how people can flourish if we design our assessments well, and how it can be about building relationship and possibility, and how it can be grounded in love. I should be letting you say this. Is that...
No. Go on. You say well.
This is what I heard.
Well,
okay.
Well done.
Thank you. This is what I heard. And then there was as you were talking, and I was kind of sharing a little bit of my experience as well, as you were talking, as we were talking, I should say, because I don't want this to sound like it was just in response to what you were saying. We were doing this together. I was aware of some eye rolling that was happening in the room, and some kind of nudging, and like just
very obvious eye rolling.
Very obvious eye rolling. And I was getting more and more incredulous at the people, and it made me realize how easy it is for us to forget, even when we're teachers, how visible students are to the teacher. Either that or it was on purpose. That's possible. But then somebody, we opened up for questions, and I kind of thought, like, here we go. And somebody in the room kind of folded his arms and drew himself up and said, well, this all sounds like an awful lot of fun. But what I want to know is how we're making sure that students are learning, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was
like that,
it was puffed up chest, and it was folded arms, and it was and you just drew yourself up, and you just kind of dropped into yourself. And I think up to that point you might have been a little bit nervous, but you at that point you were just like, right, let me tell you why it's okay to have fun while we're learning.
But you came in as well, backing me up. And I think it's when you came in and you kind of backed me and added some, with your graceful smile and with your graceful way of, acknowledging the fears of others and build on that. I think you were very clear on how we can have fun, be ourselves, make the most of the opportunity that they are given, and at the same time really have experiences of profound learning. There is no disconnection between playing and learning. There is no disconnection between fun, love, and learning. It should be one. Otherwise, I think we're doing something wrong. I thought we were, standing together more than ever. Thank you for bringing that up, because I think was amazing. And actually, this guy, I think, was quite taken by the whole thing. Probably nobody has taken him so seriously for quite a while. That I think probably was. That was quite a moment. Yeah. Sorry, I've interrupted you. I don't know.
No, not at all. I think for me that we, like I said, we'd already been working together for a while, but we hadn't had an opportunity to teach much together at that point.
That's true.
And I found it amazing for me how being up alongside you, standing in front of the room in that way, the importance to me of feeling less alone with some of these values that we were working on separately. And being able to bring that together for me just made me feel so much more courageous, and it's something that I still really value. And so yes, I would say we're friends.
Definitely we are, definitely.
And I like you, so there we go.
Me too. I like you very much.
Okay, that's enough being nice to each other.
Yeah. Actually, what you were saying, I think, brings me to one of my hopes for this week. It's I really hope that we can build this community as Naomi and is for me, and I'm for Naomi, I can say. So like colleagues and friends that share values around education and can support each other in learning more what this is about, and how to connect the things that we have to do, that our university tell us we have to do. Sorry, there's a siren at the back. Like assessing and grading and sharing certain spaces with our students and with our colleagues, and thinking how we can really truly connect all the things that we have to do with the values, and actually in a way that can transform these places through opportunity and not impositions, but really making those spaces, those constrictions, those way of talking, way of seeing as opportunity for making the most and really live and teach and learn what we want and what we feel is in a sense our missions and our way of being. So yeah, that is
we don't know how to do that.
No.
So we're like not online, not in this way. We've never had to do it like this before, and I think it's possible. But I hope you're gonna or help us to contribute to ways of figuring out how to do that and what we're doing as we're doing it. And sometimes we'll get things right, and sometimes we'll do things in ways we can learn even more from. And I think there's a lot of possibility here. Eleanor and I are thinking about how we move our teaching online in our modules, in our courses for next year. We don't have the answers yet, and I think often we can forget that learning can be about the process of trying something. So we're going to be trying together to build that community. We're going to be coming later in the week to the idea of how we can go forward in community. And we'll look later in the week at some of the ideas of Parker J. Palmer, who wrote an article called Divided No More, in which he talks about the importance of community and of not feeling on your own, of realizing that it's not just you who's struggling in or facing certain difficulties within the education system, and of how we come together to make change. And that's something we'll explore later in the week. But we're hoping to begin this week by thinking about who we are, how that intersects with our teaching and learning, and how that sense of being human can get lost within education spaces, to the point where people think that having fun is somehow undermining of the process of learning, rather than engaging with, like Winnicott talks about how important fun and play is to creating a safe space in which we can learn. And many other people have written about that idea as well. And so how we can do that online when we are 2D, when we're separate, and at the same time together, is something that we've been thinking a lot about. And we're really interested to hear how you found the tasks that we've given you in the run-up to this course, and whether they've given you an opportunity to think about that differently, of how we create this space together. Is there anything that you'd like to share now as kind of parting thoughts for going into the weeks ahead, Eleanor?
I think the only thing that I would like to share is really to as I mentioned before, to really allow your life, your spaces, your way of being to come in with your needs, with your necessities. I will be exploring with you the idea of well-being in learning spaces, and the idea of being well as an essential requisite for learning and teaching well, but not like being well in a some people feel it, this idea of being smiley and happy all the time. It's not. It's being comfortable with who we are, and with our needs, with our necessity, with our not feeling very well as well. So I invite you to really to really bring your needs, your necessities, your way of being into this space as much as possible. Because I feel that while sometimes, and it's something I would like to explore with you, in a classroom it's difficult to hide. In the online spaces might be easier to hide, and easier to kind of almost remove those bits of ourselves that we think we might don't want to bring in because they can disrupt us, or they can, I think is what makes us. And we shouldn't, I would like to discover with you ways in which we can make sure this is an hospitable place where we can be who we are, without having to censor anything, without to kind of hide things, unless obviously you want them not to be there. That is a different point. So yes, that would be my intention. Bring your needs, bring who you are, and let's go.
yeah, and that idea of being messily human and still feeling like we belong is so important to consider, I think, and how we can create that space for ourselves. So that's what we're hoping to do here this week, is to think about how we can create and experience a space like that which will hopefully give us then the resources to go forward and create those spaces in our learning in the future, and to think about what's possible and how we can open up those spaces in different ways. So we'll be doing it too. This is not, we're not excluding ourselves from this. We're going to be learning and unlearning. This is a course with a lot of space in it, we hope. And if you don't find enough space in it, we hope you'll take what you need. And yeah, there's some uncertainty in that can be uncertainty can be a difficult thing to sit with, but we will be sitting with it together and acknowledging those things as we go through this. And we'll be being our whole messy human beings as we go through this process. You'll see my cat's tails appear several points, I think, and yeah, it's something that I'm really excited about, the learning and the unlearning ahead together and exploring. We're hoping that by the end of the week we might start thinking about how we can begin to share what we're learning and unlearning with the wider teaching and learning community around the world, if that's something that you want to do, and that's something we can discuss as we go through. But yeah, I hope we can create this space together in which we learn alongside each other and from each other, co-creating this space of learning together, a little miniature ecosystem for a week. And I'm really excited about it.
Ditto.
Oh, my camera turned off because my battery's just told me it's only got 20% left. So I think that's a hint.
Yes.
From the technology.
Yeah. Enough.